Hi, P. First of all, welcome to Darje, the web scene from Latin America. It is a pleasure for us, and we really appreciate your time for this conversation. So I think the most important thing for us to know is, of course, how have you been? How is the band considering this whole crazy year that we were living?
Yeah, hi. And first of all, thanks again for having me. Um, I'm excited, man. I think it's one of our first Peruvian interviews. I think. I don't actually know, but one of the few first. So thanks for having me. Um, how am I? I think for me personally, I'm fine again. I mean, obviously, for everyone, that whole Corona thing has been kind of traumatic. And I mean, no matter what you do, if you're a musician, if you're a doctor, if you're a teacher, or whatever, if you're just a child, at some point you will think something's wrong. Um, so I think after the last 1.5 years, uh, I've I was able to figure out actually what's important in life, and I'm starting to get optimistic again. That's very cool because there has been a long period of just being in standby and thinking, okay, I don't know, because I mean, by standby, I mean when there have been announcements about shows or whatever is going to happen that includes some kind of audience or some kind of group of people coming together or travel plans or whatever, they usually have been canceled. And that's when you lose the ability to get excited for stuff to some extent. So I'm kind of regaining that back now. I'm not only in standby mode and thinking when there's a new announcement, oh yeah, okay, cool. We'll see about that. I'm actually thinking, okay, now that might happen. And I don't still don't want to believe it, but actually there's a good chance. And obviously I don't know how Peru is going, but for most mainland Europe, um, the vaccination process is okay to kind of quick. So it starts to get a bit easier, and I'm optimistic. As for the band, um, we didn't lose much in Corona times. I mean, obviously, there has been 2 weeks and not 2 weeks, 2 years of touring kind of been pushed away. But as I said, pushed away, that has been just postponed. That's not called off. That's not canceled. So we didn't lose any tours. They're just in the future or shows. Um, and apart from that, we do have the greatest fans on earth because the fans are actually what has gotten us through Corona as a band. Just financially speaking, obviously, because fans not only do they do love your music, but obviously they support you financially,
Mhm.
and enable you to do other things, to make more merch, and also to have time to write an album. And we had a lot of time to write an album. That's why, not only, but that's why we made a double album with Judas.
Mhm.
And we had a lot of time actually looking into every single little detail of that album and trying to perfect it. And so thank you, Corona. Thanks to you, we actually made, I think, and all of us think, the best record that we have ever done. Yeah,
All
that's my
all
answer.
right. Cool. Well, actually, that was part of my next question. If the corona, because of all these restrictions that we have, somehow change the way that you compose the album. Because we had two sides. On one side, of course, it gives you more time to create new music, but
Yeah.
on the other side, there are a lot of restrictions in the case if you wanna meet with others in a studio, in a real studio, for example. So, can we say that since we're more or less positive in terms of composition working on this new album?
Well, what we did, um, we weren't that heavily influenced by restrictions or anything for the composition of the album and also for the recording of the album because we wrote the actual music, the majority of the music. We wrote it in June 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a time where it was kind of uncertain if you could meet with people, how many people, what's going to happen, and so on. So we kind of made use of that gray area there, and that's totally fine because we all were completely healthy the whole time,
Mm-hmm.
all of us. So we weren't that influenced writing it, and we actually wrote the majority of songs together. Like 20 of the 24 songs were written in 1 week.
Oh.
In 1 week of focused songwriting in a songwriting camp together, the band, some of the crew, and here and there some other songwriters like Rupert, the bassist of Icebreaker or whatever, so friends of ours. And the rest of the songs, they were written remotely, like over the internet, like bouncing ideas back to England, to Ben from Sisters of Mercy, and to Yanni from Mercury Circle and Swallow the Sun. As for the recordings, there were only a little amount of people there, so we had the person playing the instrument. We had one of the producers, so either Chris or Benny or Bengt. And yeah, normally Bengt or Chris also did the engineering part, so the actual recording of the musician, for example, me. So it was very little people always in the room, and there weren't any difficulties. As for music videos, though, if not, I don't want to take away from your questions, but if I can, I don't know, tell everyone about it. As for
Sure.
music videos, that was more tricky because our main director of music videos is Matteo from VD Pictures, who also does videos for Powerwolf or Mono Inc. or whatever. And we like to work with him almost always. Thing is, he lives in Switzerland. With the increasing of the pandemic, made it at some point made him unable to travel. So for some parts of the videos or of one video, and actually the shooting of the photos, we had to do it via Zoom. So Matteo was sitting at home in front of his webcam on Zoom, broadcasting to Hamburg, or to the place where we shot the videos, to Jan, who usually does our TV of the Lost stuff. Taking one camera towards the set, the video set, so Matteo could see everything, and then again another camera, split screen, to no, it was just towards the set, I think, and the communication with Jan or the other camera guys was via Bluetooth in-ears. So it was kind of it was a challenge, obviously, but they made it somehow. They were able to communicate and make it happen, and there was a big difficulty I think, but it didn't take away from the quality of the end products in videos. So we made it happen somehow.
Oh, that sounds really, really cool. And well, the result, of course, is Judas, your seventh studio album, if I am not wrong, that will be released on July the 2nd. Well, as you already said, this is a double album. And
Yeah.
if I am not wrong, it's a concept album, actually. Um, and well, what can you tell us maybe a little bit about the lyrics or maybe the concept behind the album? Can we say that maybe this is the most ambitious or mature album in Lord of the Lost career?
I don't know about mature, but I certainly agree on ambitious.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Thornstar for the recent record or sixth studio album already was the most ambitious, and we were all asking ourselves, how are we going to top this? Because we created a whole world with Thornstar.
Sure.
But with Judas, as it is also a concept album, we opened up a whole nother book of of material to write from, because there aren't only stories about Judas, as you know, the common tellings in the Bible. Obviously, there's that story about Judas, how he betrayed Jesus, how Jesus got crucified, and so on. So there's that story about Judas the traitor, but you could tell anyone about that story in one song. So they have one song. But if you look at Judas as a person, as the character that is Judas, there are there are a lot of aspects that you can imagine, because if you think of him in different ways, if you take into consideration that there are a lot of what ifs. For example, what if Jesus and Judas were friends?
Mm-hmm.
What if what happened then? How do you feel when your friend asks you, for example, to betray him so that he dies, so the world can be saved? How with how does a personal relationship that you have with a friend, how is it affected by that? What if Judas didn't betray Jesus? So Jesus wouldn't have been crucified. So there wouldn't be the cross as a symbol of Christianity or as a holy symbol. There wouldn't be Christianity. The world wouldn't have been saved. Or how would the world have been saved then? So there are so many what if, so many alternative stories and things to explore, that it was only possible through a double album. Because even though it's a concept album and you can listen almost through the album back to back, because every song has a transition and a red line, and every song is obviously connected to the theme Judas and to an idea that we had about Judas as a person, or Judas portraying something. We also thought about the fact, how does Judas, who is for once seen as the ultimate evil or seen as the ultimate good, um, how how does it look with the gray areas in between, and how can we transport these gray areas onto our own lives? Because it's very interesting how we see good and evil, or how we deal with certain aspects in personal relationships. So it's a red line through the album. You can listen through it back to back, and everything makes sense. But since we asked ourselves with every song, how can we transfer it to our own lives? You can put these songs out of context and listen to them on their own, and still have something to think about or to just enjoy.
All right. Well, I can listen to that clearly in the result. I mean, I had a chance to listen to the album, and of course, we are going to do a review.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really liked all the details that you can hear in the compositions. It's, the emotions that we can feel through all these lyrics and even the music. So that's
Yeah.
something that I really like about the album. And of course, like your fans, of course, I would really like to see these songs performing live. So what's next actually for Lord of the Lost? Are there chances in Europe, for example, to have concerts maybe by the end of the year, probably, or are you planning to do maybe any like an streaming event, a streaming show, or something like that?
Yeah. So there aren't actually not really any chances to play in Germany, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't say there aren't any chances in Europe. Because at the end of July, actually, we are flying to Ukraine to play a festival, which boggles my mind because I can't see how that is possible.
Okay. Wow.
Because it's a big festival with 30 or 40,000 people.
Oh, wow, that's huge.
Yeah, but we make it happen. I think we have to. Um, but apart from that, next year everything I think will be fine. Um, and the streaming thing, we are having a stream show on the 3rd of July, actually. So one day after the release of Judas. Where we will actually be playing 13 songs of Judas. So there will be a lot of new songs being played for the first time. Um, and yeah, that is basically the release show for Judas. And afterwards, there will follow a Judas tour, obviously, at some point in the future. We already know the start because in November of 2021, this year, we are going to Russia. And that is basically the kickoff of the Judas tour.
All right. Well, that sounds really good, and of course,
Yeah.
we really hope that the situation will be better with the vaccination, of course.
Yeah.
Uh, and well, please, before we finish, is there anything that you want to say to your fans here in Latin America, and of course, invite them to listen to Judas?
Um, Apart from please buy our album and listen to Judas. Now, I'd really like to say that I hope that one day, that's not too far in the future, we will all see each other because we know that we desperately have to come to Latin America. That is for certain, and we know that, and there is a market for us there. It's not only 5 people who think we should come; it's a bit more now, and I think Judas is the album that does that for us, that we can actually come. And yeah, I can't wait to see all of you, if I may say so directly. So looking forward to it.
All right. Yeah, that will be really, really awesome, especially because here the audience is very passionate. Actually, in general, people in Latin
Yeah,
America
yeah,
is
that's
very
true.
passionate.
And I love that. I love that about that. That's why I really want to go.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you very much for your time for this interview. I hope that this will be the first of many ones, of course. And congratulations for the new album, of course.
It
And we wish
already
you all
is
the
one
best.
of the a few.